Another day. Excuse me. Sorry. Probably wasn't a good way to start. I'm looking for a remove icon. Kind of like this, but round. And I tried searching for it, and Windows search sucks, and I know it's in here somewhere. I just don't know the name of it, so gotta find it by hand. Delete. That's what it was called. It was called delete. See how that looks? Nice. Alright, this is good functionality. I guess I'll take this moment to explain what I got so far. So, working on a program called nTrader to get rich. We want to get rich. We want to play the stock market, and we want a robot or an algorithm to try to help us. So we're making it. So this is what we got right now. What you see here is one of two views. Actually, yeah, one of two views. And you switch views by these buttons on the bottom. So this view is like kind of the data manager view. That's what I'm calling it. This is where you manage your data. And then this view is going to be where you set up the prediction algorithms to run on the data. So before you can do anything, you need a database. A database is just a file that holds all the data. So I mean, maybe in the future, if we want to be more technical, we could rename this data file, but database suits the purpose. Everything that you do with a database is done through this database menu. And you'll notice this database menu is only in the data view. If you switch views, it goes away. And right now, everything's grayed out because there's no database loaded. And this is intentional. If you don't have a database loaded, it's not going to let you do anything. So if you're just starting out, you know, if it's your first time ever using it, you could click new database. If you already have a database, you could click open and reopen your database. Eventually we'll add features so that all this is automatic. The database is really like a background thing. But all these options are included in case people want to separate, you know, data among different databases. We could always tell what database is loaded on the bottom of the screen right here. It says no database loaded, and this will stay with you. Or will stay on the screen regardless of which view you're on. So if you switch to like the analysis view, you can still see database there. So yeah, before you can do anything, you need to get a database. So we create a new one, or we can open one. For sake of demonstration, I'll create a new one. And you'll notice now that I click create new database, well, first, before I do anything else, you'll notice that in this menu, save and close database options are grayed out, because obviously you can't save or close the database if there's none loaded. That's all deliberate, you know, none of that's automatic, that all has to be done on purpose. So when you click new database, this status changes to unsaved database, and the little icon's yellow. The icon is yellow when there is no file associated with the database. if you close it, that goes back to no database loaded. If you click new database, it creates a new database. This table becomes available when a database is loaded, and this table is the data sets. Data sets are like groups of data. An example of a data set would be like, say you wanted to run the algorithm on all of Tesla's historical data or all of Google Stock's historical data. What you could do is you could create a new data set, and right now the only way to do this is to click this new data set button. And you'll see this pops up in the table. It's just given a default name, a new data set, a default type of stock. But let's stick with our example. Let's say we want to like run an algorithm on all Google stock. We could rename this to like, Google, and change the type of stock, but there's options, and these options might change over time. This count column tells you how much data is in this group, and the whole point of this is, these groups are expendable. Like hopefully you have like tons of groups. You could have one for like Tesla and SpaceX and other stocks. We can make one for Bitcoin, which isn't a stock actually. It's a this one's a cryptocurrency. And the reason that these type things are here, let's add another set Doge for another cryptocurrency. Now all of these are just groups that I made, and none of them have any data in them. But this is where the data would go. When you import all of Google's data, or when, say, you get a hold of some data, and say you have like a text file with the market data for Google, you could import that into this Google group. And that's what we're working on right now. But right now we're just working on getting the interface to be responsive and give us an accurate representation of what the actual model looks like. But anyway, so you could obviously rename these on demand. There's edit. You could change their you could change all their types on demand. And the reason that this type exists is because maybe sometimes when you're running an algorithm, maybe here's a hypothetical scenario. Say that we wanted to watch Tesla's stock, right? Say we're thinking that Tesla was going to go up or down, and we wanted to make move based on that, and we wanted to get the algorithm's opinion. So you could have an algorithm working on all Tesla's data, and then you could have another algorithm working alongside of it. But instead of using just Tesla's data, you could say, okay, look at all stock data. Look at all stocks, right? Or if say we were watching Bitcoin and we want to see, well, we have an algorithm running on Bitcoin's data, but let's see what cryptocurrencies overall tend to do. So that's why this functionality is here. And then this count column is, like I said, the data points and thing. You could delete these, one at a time. So I wanted to get rid of Tesla, you just click delete, get rid of Doge. And then there's also multi-select. So you could select more than one things, or more than one data groups, and delete them all at once. No undo feature yet, but maybe. Let's just add some of them back. And alright, so now we have some data groups that don't have any data in them. And you'll notice that this table on the right is now, not grayed out. And basically, this table on the right will always display the data points associated with whichever groups you have selected. So right now, I have Google selected, right? So this table is technically showing Google's data, but you don't really know that yet because there's nothing in it. So let's say I add an arbitrary data point to Google. Google was selected, so this data point, when I clicked the new button, it got added to Google. You saw Google's count went up to 1, and now this new data point came in here. We're gonna, work on getting all this stuff set up, but what's important is the UI and you know, consistencies and stuff. And you'll notice that Google's data count went up to 1. But now if I select like Tesla, well, Tesla has no data, so this table readjusts to show Tesla's data, which is nothing. But if I go back to Google, well, look, now you can see that data point again. Now if I add, like, say, 2 data points to Tesla, now you can see Tesla has 2 data points, Google has 1, and I can you know, see the data for the different groups by just clicking on them. And again, if I click on one of these other groups with no data, the table is empty again. Now what's cool is, and this is on purpose, if you select more than one group, all of the data will show up in this data point table. So if I select, let's say Google has 1 data point, Tesla has 2 data points, and let's add 1 for Bitcoin. So now there's a total of 4 data points. If I select all these, we should see 4 data points in the table. So here you can see whichever data points you select, or whichever groups you selected, they show up in the table. If I was to just select Google, which has 1 data point, and Tesla, which has 2, you can see 3 in here. And then if I just select Tesla, you know how that shit goes. If I have Tesla selected and I delete, like, I see Tesla's 2 data points, and then I delete Tesla, well, then those 2 data points are gone. And if I bring it back, they're still gone. So we'll add some type of functionality in there. These tables work for sorting. You can sort by, like, dates. So say I add, like, a few data points, like 5 for Google. I could sort them by date in either ascending or descending order, and this will be true of all of the columns. So right now, we don't have any data that we're working with, but you'll be able to sort by all these columns. You can even drag the columns around if you wanted to. Same with these ones. If you wanted to sort by which data has the most count, Google clearly. Yeah, so that's what we're working with right now. Saving works if I wanted to save this database. So let's just look at what we have. I have, Bitcoin with 1 data point, Google with 5 data points, and the other 2 with none. If I save this database, let's say I just save it to my desktop, I'll call it new database. Well, you'll see that this database name now changes. It's not unsaved anymore. It actually has the name new database, so this is a way to keep track of, which data you're currently viewing. Now if I close this, database disappears, but I could actually reopen that database that I just had, and now you see, look, all that data is back. So this is this kind of stuff we've been working on. There's still a lot more to do. The next step is getting this data point table to display all the columns relevant to data, and then making that data editable. Oh, another thing, just a quick highlight. Say I had multiple data points selected. This is a really cool feature, and again, it's all deliberate. So I have Google, Bitcoin, and Dogecoin selected right now. Collectively, they have 6 data points. Google has 5, Bitcoin has 1, Doge has 0. And you can see 6 data points in this table. Now, if I click Add right now with all 3 selected, watch how cool this is. Another data point appears, right? But this data point got added to all 3. Now, it's important to note that this isn't 3 data points. We didn't create 3 data points. We created 1. But that data point exists in 3 places, and that's by design. It's very cool. And then if you were to go to delete that data point from a particular database or from a particular data set, it would only remove it from that data set. However, if you had all 3 selected and you removed it, it would remove from all 3. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. I think it's good. I think it's promising. Still a lot more to do, but once all of this data is in place, and once all of this data can be easily just pulled up and manipulated. By the way, like, data will not have to be entered individually. Like, you'll be able to take, like, a text file full of data, or a stream on the internet that just every so often sends out data, in like a network message. That data can come in and get added to whichever of these groups you tell it to, or multiple groups if you wanted to. You know, you can set that all up. That's all part. But the point is, we have data sets right here which hold data, and this is kind of your way of organizing it. You can think of these data sets as like folders, and the name is like whatever you want. You know, you could have one for gold, right? Like say like I wanted to like do like some forex, and I was looking at gold. Okay, well I could set this to like a currency, or I could even add forex in here because I don't know if it's the same thing. And it doesn't matter because like even when you look at the gold market, there's still, you know, a time, an opening and a close price, a high and a low price, and then a volume typically. And where all this program is going to do is it's going to take all that information and it's going to look for trends. And then it's going to look at your most recent data point, your most recent entry, and then based on all the history, it's going to make a prediction. But those predictions need data to look at, right? It needs a group of data to make a prediction on, you know? When you make a prediction in real life, you're like, okay, well, what is that prediction based on? Like, what's your reasoning behind it, right? Well, the algorithm's reasoning, or like the reason it makes the predictions, are going to be based on these groups of data sets. And if these data sets are filled with garbage data, well, it's probably going to make garbage predictions. On the other hand, if these are filled with if these data sets are filled with good data, then it's going to make good predictions. But yeah, we're going to keep on working on it right now. I just wanted to make this video to highlight some updates, and or it's not really updates. This is the first time I ever posted anything about it. Mainly for, you know, bragging. One small feature that's going to exist is this little database icon. It's blue right now, but normally it'll be either blue or green. Blue will mean that there's unsaved changes, and green will mean that everything's up to date and everything's saved and no data is at risk of being lost. But yeah, so let's get to work.